Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. We're ready to go. Let's get the man in the show. Where is the man? Where is the man? Good morning.
Yeah, man. I'm awake, I guess.
You're alive at least.
Yeah. This is what it feels like.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Man, it's not that bad.
Golly, golly, golly.
Golly. This Molly.
That's how I get into my Scottish accent. I go, Goldie, Scotland. I don't know why.
And you go play around the golf?
I think Han would like that.
Around the golf. Yeah, play. You go run the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm the Scottish Star Trek. You won't take any more, Captain. She just won't take any more. It's all you take, Captain. Almost ready. Oh, no camera. All right, man. I'm not hearing you, but that's not unusual.
I'm not talking, so.
Sorry, because I'm always kicking this cord. All right, and there we are. Reality. Hey, here we are. Reality.
Oh, look at you with your shirt.
Right, man.
Ready to go?
I'm done coughing yet.
Got to get that morning phlegm out.
The phlegm. Go ahead.
Today on Before Coffee, I will do the same again. Activists continue fight against Poland's strict abortion laws.
Illinois probe reveals rampant sexual abuse in Catholic Church.
Putten missing case linked to body in German reservoir almost after 30 years.
Chinese hackers attacked Kenyan government as debt strains grew.
Parched southeastern Spain hit by heavy rains.
And Netflix to charge an additional $8 a month for viewers living outside U.S. subscribers' households. So Netflix going to town on everybody today on May 24th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee. Netflix trying to lose customers, basically.
Yeah, they really want to go down the drain. Alright, my first story. In February 2020, a desperate woman made a phone call to the activist group Abortion Without Borders. Ania, not her real name, was 12 weeks pregnant with twins and trapped in a relationship with a violent partner. She was also suffering from hyperemesis, an acute pregnancy sickness that left her vomiting multiple times a day, unable to keep down food. She wanted to end her pregnancy, but every avenue was blocked under Poland's strict abortion laws. By the time she called Abortion Without Borders, while hiding in the bushes near her apartment, she was distraught. She told activists she would rather die than continue the pregnancy. Justina Wydrzyńska made a quick decision when she heard about Ania's call. She gathered her own abortion pills and posted them to her. For this act, she became the first activist in Poland to be found guilty of aiding an abortion in a landmark case over women's rights. Wydrzyńska was sentenced to 30 hours of community service Sentenced to 30 hours of community sermons a month for 8 months. That's just a weird thing to say. But she has no regrets. I will do the same again, she told Guardian during a recent visit to Brussels. From the moment she heard about Ania's plight, she said she knew 1,000% that I have to do it. Story stirred painful memories for Wydrzyńska. She said, I had also around the 12th week when I stopped my own pregnancy. She was a victim of a violent partner. I had been living with a violent partner, so when I heard the story, and it was very similar to my own one, this is why I sent the pills. In early 2020, borders were closing because Europe and growing alarm over COVID-19, with added uncertainty about the restrictions meant for women seeking to buy abortion pills abroad. Posting them seemed to be the safest option. Ania's partner discovered the pills, which are endorsed by the World Health Organization as a very safe way of ending an unwanted pregnancy during the first trimester, and called the police. Ania never took the tablets. Along with Malta, Poland has some of the strictest abortion laws in Europe, allowing for termination only in cases of rape, incest, or threat to the mother's health or life. I would consider that third option very possible in this scenario, to be honest. Violent partners are the most likely people to murder you. It's scientific. And your child. The restrictions were tightened further in October 2020, when Poland's Constitutional Tribunal ruled that abortions on the grounds of fetal defects were unconstitutional, ending the most common legal route for terminating a pregnancy. The tribunal has been described as illegitimate by the European Parliament, following the appointment of numerous judges seen as governing party loyalists. Activists say the interpretation of the law can be even stricter than the letter, as doctors wait for a fetal heart to stop beating before they intervene to save a woman's life. In January 2022, a woman identified as Agnieszka T. died of suspected septic shock in the first trimester of a twin pregnancy. After one twin's heart stopped beating, doctors refused to move the baby, citing the abortion legislation. The other twin's heartbeat stopped a week later, but doctors waited a further 2 days to end the pregnancy. But despite her severe sickness and acute anxiety, Ania had no hope of getting an abortion on medical grounds. When police seized her abortion pill, she took a desperate gamble. She bought a catheter and inserted it into her cervix to end the pregnancy herself. She wore the device for days, reinserting it when it fell out. The whole time, she was paralyzed with fear that someone will find out, she said in a recent interview where she described her ordeal in a harrowing detail. In those days, I became convinced how untrue it is to say that human dignity is inherent and inalienable, she told the Polish website oko.press. After several days of self-administered procedures, she was shaking and her whole body ached. Yet she feared if she went to the hospital, they might save the pregnancy. 2 days later, she was in the emergency with life-threatening sepsis. Her pregnancy was brought to an end and she survived. For Wadrzynska, it is painful to describe what happened to Ania. Ania had the chance for a safe abortion, but the chance was taken away from her. As a consequence, Ania had to use the method of our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, she told a European Parliament hearing last month, her voice shaking with emotion. Every time I see her name, I just stop. Wadrzynska came to Brussels to call on the EU authorities to put the pressure on the Polish government to stop criminalized people who aid abortions. She's also seeking more financial support for Abortion Without Borders, which helps 34,000 women in Poland access termination in the 12 months following the Constitutional Tribunal's ruling. Yet, this is believed to be the only a fraction of women in the country seeking abortions. For now, her sentence is suspended as she awaits the outcome of her appeal. She does not have high hopes of acquittal, nor is she hopeful of reform of Poland's abortion laws, ahead of an upcoming autumn election that threatened the grip of power of the ruling Nationalist Party, Law and Justice. Lovely party name. Robert Bierdon, a Polish center-left MEP who chairs the European Parliament's Women's Rights and Gender Equality Committee. Really weird that that's a man. Sorry. I think it's I think it's weird when men are on a thing all about women and what they should do. But it's fair. It says gender equality.
It's called
men
equality,
are also
though.
a gender, so it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Points out that Poland's strict abortion laws long predate the return to power of Law and Justice in 2015. He said the situation for women not only accessing sexual and reproductive services has not been created only by Law and Justice ruling party. It's a long-term story that was continued to be radicalized in this government. Beyond this year's election, Wadrzynska is optimistic about the long-term outlook. I know that in society is more progressive than politics, so sooner or later, it will change. Right. Your story.
And a related story involving, well, the Catholic Church, because that's Poland making the laws with the Catholic Church, telling them what to do. Illinois probe reveals rampant sexual abuse in Catholic Church. The Attorney General, this is from Al Jazeera. Let me get the reporter's byline here if we have one. I guess it's at the end. All right. I'll try to find it at the end. The Attorney General of Illinois in the Midwestern United States has released a 696-page report revealing widespread sexual abuse on the part of the Roman Catholic Church in the state. The survivor called law priest allegedly offered him cookies before starting to fondle him in a rectory kitchen. That kind of abuse happened multiple times afterwards, the survivor said in the report. But they were good cookies. I don't know. It must have been. A cookie? Oh boy, I'll do anything for a cookie. As an adult, the survivor said he just testified in church leadership about what happened, naming the priest. But he would later describe that his claims were not investigated. The priest had died, the report explained, and the church sought to protect the man's good name and reputation. Tuesday's report.
Dead, so who cares? Like, what reputation? He's dead.
Don't defame that guy who has no children. Whatever. Tuesday report, the latest black eye of the Catholic Church in the U.S., which has faced a series of scandals related to the sexual abuse and cover-ups, resulting in billions of dollars worth of legal settlements. Last month, the state of Maryland's Attorney General, Anthony Brown, issued a similar report, identified 158 priests accused of sexual abuse and more than 600 alleged survivors. In the wake of the report, Blaise Kupich, the Archbishop of Chicago, sought to quell concerns that the Catholic Church had been negligent in documenting and investigating cases of child abuse. Okay, good for him. He released a video statement on Tuesday saying that since 2006, his organization has maintained and obtained a public list of clerics identified as abusers through independent investigations and reviews. Kupich added that the church had asked repeatedly for Illinois' Attorney General to share any new cases it discovered and disclosed, but that was surprised on Tuesday to find that to find new names in the Attorney General's report. There are no hidden or disclosed cases. The vast majority of cases occurred decades ago, and many of the perpetrators are deceased, Kupich said in the report. No cleric with even one substantiated allegation of sexual abuse of a minor against him is currently serving in the Archdiocese of Chicago. Well, there you go. I feel much better. He's cleared my mind.
And none will ever happen again.
Pope Francis had decided to appoint 70 non-bishop members of the synod and asked that half are women. Anyway, there's your religious news. That was like a sub bar. I probably shouldn't have read. It was like by a picture. Never mind. And hopefully some non-religious superstition news next, huh? Go ahead.
Well, this is an update on a 30-year-old missing body case, and they've linked it to a body they found in a German reservoir. After almost 30 years, the body of a missing woman from Putten has been identified. Maria van der Zonde, 22, went missing in August 1994. So, basically as old as me. A match has now been made with the body found in the reservoir in Germany that same month. We are overwhelmed by this news. After almost 30 years, I finally know where my daughter is. Maria's father, Ab van der Zonde, responded on the website of Peter R. de Vries Foundation. Van der Zonde went missing after she went cycling on Saturday, August 6, 1994. She was seen by the neighbor, but then disappeared without a trace. The police investigated for more than a month, keeping all scenarios open: suicide, a voluntary disappearance, or a crime. All those investigations did not yield any result at the time. Omroep Gelderland reports. At the beginning of the last year, the Peter R. de Vries Foundation took up the case again, together with the police cold case team. The foundation offered a reward of 250,000 euros for information leading to her discovery. At the end of March, the German police first reported that there was a possible match between the woman from Putten and a body found at the end of August 1994 in a reservoir in Monesse near the German city of Soest, 240 kilometers from Putten. But that is how water works. It goes places. German police could not identify the woman in 1994. The conclusion of a short investigation then was that it was probably suicide. The body was buried in a nameless grave. No DNA was taken at the time. Now, new research shows that the body belonged to Maria van der Zonde. She could be identified by comparing fingerprints. It's also very nice that they buried her in a grave. So the dad isn't like, oh, her body decomposed in the ocean somewhere. And I was like, oh, you can go visit the grave. It's right there. No. That is not the end of the matter. Although the German police assumed suicide at the time, the police and cold case team wants to continue the investigation into the events surrounding the disappearance. This should show, among other things, how van der Zanden ended up in Germany. Police also want to know why a link has not been made earlier between the unknown dead woman in the reservoir and the missing woman from Putten. There are still a lot of questions that we will hopefully get answered with the cold case team and the foundation in the near future, says Ab van der Zanden. For now, we want to let this news sink in. Kelly de Vries of the Peter R. de Vries Foundation also reacts with mixed emotions. It is a double feeling on the one hand, we are very happy that Maria has been found and that her father finally knows where his daughter is. At the same time, we also realize that there is an enormous sadness. It shows once again that it works to keep shaking the tree. It's nice that the foundation has been able to make a major contribution to finding Mary. The reward of the €250,000 will not be paid in this case because Mario was found thanks to police information, and they don't get any of our money. You have a budget. You're government mandated. Reports the R. de Vries. Also, I think it's probably illegal for a private, like it probably breaks some sort of law to give foundation money to a public sector thing. €250 will be used to solve other cold cases. So, I like how it's like we made a major contribution to finding her. Like they're still not really sure if it actually is her. It's like everything seems to match, you know?
Really, no DNA. That's the weird part.
Well, I think you can still take DNA from bone, maybe, but...
Oh yeah, they get DNA from dinosaurs and shit, you know. They can't replicate it into a clone like they do in Jurassic Park, but...
that was
just
a movie.
Fantasy.
But that's the end of the case. So.
All right then. Exclusive. Chinese hackers. This is from Reuters. So we're going to give them the exclusive. We'll figure the name of the reporter here. Thomas Reuters, I guess. The guy started the company. Let's give him credit.
You work for us, so we own everything.
Nairobi, Kenya. Chinese hackers had targeted Kenya's government in a widespread, years-long series of digital intrusions against key ministries and state institutions. According to three sources, cybersecurity research reports and Reuters' own analysis of technical data related to the hackings. Two of the sources assessed the hacks to be aimed, at least in part, at gaining information on debt owed to Beijing by the East African nation. Kenya is a strategic link in the Belt and Road Initiative, President Xi Jinping's plan for global infrastructure network. So they want to start a global infrastructure network, but they want to hack the Kenyan government to make sure they can get it going, I guess. Further compromises may occur as the requirement for understanding upcoming repayment strategies become needed. A July 21 research report written by a defense contractor for private clients stated China's foreign ministry said it was not aware of any such hacking, while China's embassy in Britain called the accusations baseless, adding that Beijing opposes and combats cyber attacks and theft in all their forms. China's influence in Africa has grown rapidly over the past 2 decades, but like several African nations, Kenya's finances are being strained by the growing cost of servicing external debt, much of it owed to China. The hacking campaign demonstrates China's willingness to leverage its espionage capabilities to monitor and protect economic and strategic interests abroad, two of the sources said. The hacks constitute a 3-year campaign. They targeted 8 of Kenya's ministries and government departments, including the presidential office, according to an intelligence analyst in the region. The analyst also shared with Reuters research documents that included the timeline of the attacks, the targets, and provided some technical data related to the compromise of a server used exclusively by Kenya's main spy agency. A Kenyan cybersecurity expert described similar hacking activity against the foreign and finance ministries. All 3 of the sources asked not to be named due to the sensitive nature of their work. Your allegation of attempts by Chinese government entities is not unique, Kenya's presidential office said, adding the government hadn't been targeted by frequent infiltrations attempts from Chinese, American, and European hackers. As far as we are concerned, none of the attempts were successful, it said. It did not provide further details nor respond to follow-up questions. A spokesman for the Chinese embassy in Britain said China is against irresponsible moves that use topics like cybersecurity to sow discord in the relations between China and other developing countries. China attaches great importance to Africa's debt issue and works intensively to help Africa cope with it, the spokesperson said. Between 2000 and 2020, China committed nearly $160 billion in loans to African countries, according to the comprehensive database on Chinese lending hosted by Boston University, much of it for large-scale infrastructure projects. Kenya used over $9 billion in Chinese loans to fund aggressive push to build and upgrade railways, ports, and highways. Well, how dare they? Beijing became country's largest bilateral creditor and gained a firm foothold on the most important East African consumer market and vital logistical hub on Africa's Indian Ocean coast. By late 2019, however, when the Kenyan cybersecurity expert told Reuters he was brought in by Kenyan authorities to assess the hack of the government-wide network, Chinese lending was drying up and Kenya's financial strains were showing. The breach, reviewed by Kenyan cybersecurity expert and attributed to China, began with spear phishing attack at the end of the same year when a Kenyan government employee unknowingly downloaded an infected document allowing hackers to infiltrate the network and access other agencies. A lot of documents from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were stolen from the Finance Department as well. The attack period focused on the debt situation, the Kenyan cybersecurity expert said. Another source, the intelligence analyst working in the region, said Chinese hackers carried out a far-reaching campaign against Kenya that began in late 2019 and continued until 2022. According to the documents provided by the analyst, Chinese cyber spies subjected the office of Kenya's president, its defense, information, health, and land and interior ministries, its counterterrorism centers, other institutions to persistent and prolonged hacking activity. The affected government departments did not respond to requests to comment and declined to be interviewed and were unreachable. By 21, global economic fallout from COVID-19 pandemic had already helped push one major Chinese borrower, Zambia, to default on its external debt. Kenya managed to secure a temporary debt repayment moratorium from China. So China, they put a pressure on financially from the outside and from the inside. They're hacking you to make sure that you stay in line, I guess.
Friggin' nice imperialism.
Yeah. China working the front door and the back door. Your story.
Okay, well, I hope they get free of that situation and have their own self-determination. That's all I want for Africa, is to be their own countries, and people stop putting their fingers in what's going on there. Just so annoying.
Oh, foreigners to go pound sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. In climate news, parched southeastern Spain hit by heavy rains. In the southeast of Spain, regions are expected heavy rainfall after a long dry period. Authorities have closed universities, schools, and nurseries in parts of the affected region of Murcia, Valencia, and Andalusia as a precaution. Due to the torrential rain, basements have flooded, roads are impassable, and cars are underwater. Yes, that's pretty deep rain, like at least half my body in rain. Yeah. The government has issued a flood warning to the affected areas. In Cartagena, the province of Murcia, emergency services are draining flooded streets. Local TV stations in coastal towns show images of parked cars and motorcycles completely submerged in water. In some parts of Valencia, more rain has fallen in a few days than in the previous 6 months. Spanish weather service IMET reports. In the municipality of Ontinyent, the record was broken for the most rainfall in one day in the month of May. There, 130 liters per square meter fell in 24 hours, more than had fallen in one day in the past 100 years. One of the driest springs ever. The country experienced the warmest and driest April on records last month, according to IMET spokesperson. Despite the rainfall, the spring will still go down in the books as one of the driest springs in Spain on record. National precipitation in Spain between October 2022 and May 21st this year was 20% lower than the average for that period. The UN Climate Panel IPCC has previously warned that countries around the Mediterranean Sea, such as Spain, will experience extreme weather relatively more often as a result of climate change. So you better start saving all that torrential rain, because you're going to need it in 3 weeks when there is no rain for another 3 months, I think.
Build them dikes.
Yeah, and in conjunction with that, of course, many farmers are very desperate during the extreme drought. After 5 months without rain, the Spanish olive farmer Pedro Cachinero Diaz is close to despair. The whole branch is empty. There is not one fruit on it, he says, stroking olive branch with his hand. The flowers let go and flutter down. Tears are in his eyes. This is very sad. I have no income for a year. In the mountains of Spanish regions of Los Pedrosos, north of Cordoba, everything is bone dry. It hasn't rained since December. Rain is expected in the coming days, but that will not solve the extreme drought in the area. Yeah, just because you don't water your plant for 5 months doesn't mean suddenly it'll start growing because you drown it in water. You know, I wish that's how it worked, but that's not how it works. They also noticed the drought outside the region. Spain last month experienced the warmest and driest April since 1961, the year it started keeping weather data in Spain. In the south, the temperature reached almost 40 degrees in April. And that's summer weather, not spring weather. It is a disaster. In another orchard closer to his house, Cachinero Diaz's olive trees are also barely bearing fruit that should grow in olives this fall. He had hoped his mountain olives would be more resistant to heat of the past few weeks. Cachinero Diaz walked past the trees, disappointed. They look good to the eye, but he sees something different. The trees are too light in color. They should have been dark green by now. The blossoms are not what they seem either. Everything was in bloom 2 weeks earlier, and then the sun came out. It's a disaster. Not far from the olive grove of Cachinero Diaz, Alfonso Martin keeps more than 3,000 Iberico pigs, known for their famous ham pata negra. One of their main food sources is acorns. Martin's mile-long yard is full of oak trees, but they are also having a hard time now. Like other livestock farmers in the region, Martin has suffered from a shortage of drinking water for his animals. Yeah, those are some dark pigs. The extreme drought has left farmers like Cachinero Diaz at their wits' end. He usually knows about around June 24th, the San Juan holiday, what his harvest will be like in the fall. He doesn't have to wait for that this year because everything has scorched away. Absolutely everything. There's little hope for next year either. The trees had hardly any new shoots. While young shoots are so important, look, he points, this branch hasn't grown. This is where the next year's blossom should have come. There's nothing at all. Spain accounts for 50% of the global olive oil production annually. The drought is making oil increasingly scarce and expensive. The Seville region, where the olives are harvested for consumption, is always ahead of the season. You can already see that is dramatic there, says Rafael Sanchez de Puerta, president of the Association of Olive Farmers. The trees are in bloom, but that's out of the pure stress because of the drought. No fruit is coming from that. Irrigation systems can be installed on flat pieces of land, but that requires a lot of money. We therefore hope the European Union will come along with money so that they can save at least part of the olive grove. Cachinero Diaz has little hope for the future. His business has passed from father to son for generation, but he fears it will end with him. He overlooks his land. What I say here is that I can join the army of the unemployed. There you go. That's your sad farmer news as well.
Yeah.
On
this
to your...
is going to be
Sorry?
a look at the future as the greenhouse effect makes our lives just complete total chaos. From 2 feet of rain in a day to wildfires worldwide. Let's go. Okay. And in greedy corporate news, Netflix to charge an additional $8 a month for viewers living outside U.S. subscribers' households. So if you're like me and you have 2 households and you subscribe to Netflix, you're going to tell Netflix, well, you're really not that important to us. So have fun without my money. You know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Pay $8 more a month. I guess they're taking a cue from Elon Musk, who's charging $8 for the little blue check mark.
That must be how much we can increase prices by, $8.
Yeah, and then they let like fake news stories go through with blue check marks from unverified sources anyway, because Twitter's full of shit. Well, Netflix is going to charge $8 a month for people who want to watch from 2 different houses. If they own 2 houses, $8. Netflix on Tuesday outlined how it intends to crack down. They act like we're doing something really, really illegal. They
want every single person that currently watches Netflix to be paying them $8.
To pay, right?
Every single one. So if there's 3 people using it, that's 2 people who aren't paying them.
And Netflix realized that its content has gone down over years and years and years because they're having to produce their own content because everybody else is just taking their stuff off Netflix, and Netflix is going to start charging more for less content. You're going to have to create more content on your own, and it's going to have to be quality content, and it can't be crap. All right, back to the story. To combat password sharing, Netflix said it will limit U.S. viewership to its programming to people living in the same household. Those who subscribe to Netflix standard or premium plans, which cost $15.50 to $20 per month, will be able to allow another person living outside their household to use their password for an additional $8 per month, a $2 discount from the company's basic plan. Without providing the details, how it authenticates subscriber identities or accounts, Netflix assured that everyone living in the same household of a U.S. customer will still be able to stream TV series and movies wherever they are, at home, on the go, or on holiday. Okay. How are you supposed to prove you're that person if you're not at home? Okay, I guess they figured it out. The long-anticipated move, telegraphed by Netflix a year ago, seeks to end the practice of the company allowed to go unchecked for years while the streaming service was attracting subscribers in droves. At the time, management had little incentive to risk riling customers by reining in password sharing. While Netflix looked the other way, an estimated 100 million people worldwide were getting passwords from family and friends to freeload on Netflix TV series such as The Crown and films such as All Quiet on the Western Front. Those passwords were funneled through network's 232.5 billion worldwide paying subscribers who generated the bulk of the company's $32 billion in revenue last year. But after a year of lackluster subscriber growth that included the largest customer losses of more than a decade, Netflix is putting its foot down. We want to lose more customers. But after a year of lackluster subscriber growth, in February it began blocking freeloading viewers in Canada, New Zealand, Portugal, and Spain, following similar moves in Latin America. Before the crackdown on password sharing, Netflix began introducing features such as the ability to transfer the profile set up on subscribers' accounts to make it easier for people to retain their viewing histories after they are no longer able to watch shows for free. The Netflix effort to force more of its viewers to pay for access to its programming follows the launch of a $7 a monthly plan that inserted commercials into its service for the first time. Netflix has picked up an additional 9 million worldwide subscribers since its ad-supported option debuted, although not all of those signed up for the new low-price plan. Although the new U.S. surcharge for viewers living outside subscribers' household is less than Netflix's basic streaming plan, it comes at a time when Americans have been paring their discretionary spending because of high inflation. Here we go, claiming America has high inflation. Such a fucking sad fucking commentary on the reporting in America. The United States is the lowest inflation in the world, folks. That inflationary squeeze, combined with more competition from other streaming, is one of the main reasons Netflix has suffered. It's lame. Lame. Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters acknowledged last month that the crackdown on password sharing is likely to trigger an uptick in subscriber cancellations, but expressed confidence the company will be better off in the long run after people adjust to the clampdown. We see an initial cancel reaction, then we'll build from that both in terms of membership and revenue as borrowers sign up for their own Netflix accounts because we want to be loyal to that money-grubbing corporation. Oh yeah. Because we're so brand loyal in America. No, we're not. We don't give a crap about Netflix. Netflix shares sell Tuesday close to $355.99. The stock remained up about 20% so far this year. You know, people love GameStop too, right? Yeah. That's not around. That's not around. It's gone. They went out of business, even though people loved them. Isn't it weird? Netflix thinks people love them, and they're just going to go, "Oh, Netflix, we got to have it." Nope, we don't care. We love the Blockbuster. Blockbuster Video. Did you know that you could just have a machine at home, you rent the Blockbuster Video, put that in one side, record the movie on the other video, and go make bootleg copies and get rich? Yeah! You could have done that Blockbuster too. Blockbuster never put a stop to that. They'd still went out of business because another business model came along that made more sense. Netflix is going to fail, and they're just getting money grab as they drive customers away.
They want to get that last inkling of money they can get before they go out of business, basically.
Don't you see? You're going to want to throw that $8 a month away just so your buddy can watch your shows. No, I'll just cancel. And watch something else. There's so many choices now. Who cares? Netflix. Ugh. You're going to make another zombie series? Oh boy, you know. I can't wait for the new apocalypse on Netflix. Your story. Hey.
Right. In more culture news, blood, sweat, and poo.
Ooh.
Jude Law wore bespoke perfume to play Henry VIII. The actor, whose performance in Firebrand has drawn plaudits at Cannes, said he wore a deliberately rank smell to conjure the ailing king's presence. Jude Law doused himself in a specially brewed scent blended from blood, fecal matter, and sweat to play Henry VIII in Firebrand, an acclaimed new period drama which has premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. I read several interesting accounts that you could smell Henry III's rooms away, said Law at a press conference in Cannes on Monday. I give him a southern accent. His leg was raw so badly he hit it with the rose oil. I thought it would have been a great impact if I smell awful.
Hot damn.
The specialist perfumer was enlisted to make a custom brew, continued Law. She makes wonderful scents, and she also makes awful scents. Sometimes came up with an extraordinary variety of blood, fecal matter, and sweat. Initially, I used it very subtly, but then it became a spray fest. The film's director, Kiri Manaus, testified to the success of Law's immersive approach. When he walked in on set, he said, "It was just horrible." Law has won plaudits for his performance in the film, which focuses on the king's final marriage to Catherine Parr, played by Alicia Vikander. The Guardian's Peter Bradshaw was impressed by the viscerality of Law's performance, writing, "The king's bedchamber is perfumed by the pus splurging from Henry's bloated and unlacerated legs as the doctor changes his bandages. Get thumped and screamed at by a royal patient. This is Henry, and is peevish and cantankerous." And we, at one stage, get a full-on shot of His Majesty's pale, fleshy bum as he has a conjugal relations with Catherine, like the giant shaved arse of a sheep. Did Law use a buttock stubble for his stomach-turning image? Law declared himself uninterested in the present-day monarchy, aside from its theatrical aspects. I don't really follow it. It's not one for gossip. I don't really enjoy it. I find no interest in it, and I don't really enjoy following tittle-tattle stories. Looking at the
bloody
photos
awful.
of the Sorry?
And it's bloody awful.
Yeah. Looking at the photos of the coronation
That's
of
my
Charles
English.
and Camilla earlier this month, of the medieval ceremony and how it applies to today made me feel very modern, said Law. I love how he doesn't call them king or queen. He just calls them Charles and Camilla, because he doesn't believe in royalty. Law has fronted perfume ads for Dior Home and Dior Home Sport, and is also known for a client of Ozzy Glacier, a British fragrance stylist, whose Rosien d'Eter is recreating DNA through smell. Interesting. After spending time with Law, Glacier made him a bespoke scent, which is said to mix the elements of key characters the actor had played, including Bosnian Wilde, Dr. Watson opposite Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock. Law praised it as me. I've just never had it in a bottle before. It is described by Glacier as a decadent with a clean and classy accord of a sexy vedorvant in rich mosses. My favorite Jude Law, just a brag about Jude Law here for a second. My favorite role Jude Law had is when he played the Pope. That was a really good show to watch. He played like the youngest Pope to ever be popified. And he was just like this radical, like crazy radical, and he was just doing crazy shit. It was really, it was really enjoyable to watch. So I recommend that, and I guess also this film that he smells like Putten. And anyways, now it's time for In This Day in History.
All right, in this day in history, in 1689, the Toleration Act was passed by the British Parliament, granting freedom of worship to nonconformists and allowing them their own place of worship and their own teachers and preachers. So you get freedom of religion, basically, for the first time in England. 1822, part of the Latin American Wars of Independence from Spanish rule, the Battle of Pichincha took place on the lower slopes of Cerro Pichincha and ended a victory of South American rebels. In 1830, the first line of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad opened with the known locally as the B&O, opened with the maiden voyage of Peter Cooper's locomotive Tom Thumb. In 1856, a group of abolitionists led by John Brown launched a nighttime raid on the pro-slavery settlement in Potawatomi Creek, Kansas territory, during which 5 men were murdered. In 1928, Irish author William Trevor, who was noted for his wry and often macabre short stories, was born in County Cork, which is, of course, in Ireland. In 1938, Carl McGee of Oklahoma was granted the first U.S. patent for the first coin-controlled parking meter, which became ubiquitous in the streets around the country. 1951, in the U.S. nuclear program, 4th test Operation Greenhouse was conducted, resulting in the first proof-of-principle test of booster design in nuclear fission. If you understood that sentence, congratulations. 1956, the first Eurovision Song Contest was held in Lugano, Switzerland, and it became a hugely popular annual event. 1956, first Eurovision. 1994, 4 men convicted in the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center in New York City were each sentenced to 240 years in prison. The terrorist attack killed 6 people and injured some 1,000. That was the first World Trade Center attack. In 2000, Israel ended its 18-year occupation of southern Lebanon, withdrawing his last of its troops from the self-declared security zone. And 1883 was the opening of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Wow.
A brilliant feat of 19th century engineering. The Brooklyn Bridge, spanning the East River from Brooklyn and Manhattan Island, New York City, opened this day in 1883, designed by civil engineer John Augustus Roebling, who also discovered the bends.
Oh, wow.
True story.
That's a
True
terrible
story.
thing to discover.
Yeah, they discovered it the hard way. In fact, John Augustus Roebling died from it, and his wife had to finish the project. He was incapacitated by the bends. So he eventually died from it, but he lived to see the project through, but his wife basically had to do all the work.
Yeah.
And born on this day, Queen Victoria was born on this day, May 24th, 1819, at Kensington Palace in England.
The Imperial Master of Imperialism.
Happy birthday, Queen Vicky. In 1966, Eric Cantona was born. 1949, Jim Broadbent. And 1908, Sam Giancana, American gangster whose wife allegedly had an affair with JFK. And may God bless and keep you always. And may you always stay forever young. Happy birthday to Bob Dylan, born on this day in 1941. Happy 83 to Bobby Dylan. So I'm going to be listening to Bob Dylan all day long.
Oh, right.
Which I do anyway. And what is it today? Also today, it is almost fittingly, since Bob Dylan probably has more different genres of music, it is World Schizophrenia Day. So you can play any Bob Dylan song because he has so many different styles, including Sinatra, rap, whatever you want to do. Bob Dylan's got it. National Wyoming Day is today. So all the 14 people that live there get all excited. Aviation Maintenance Technician Day. Always appreciate your aviation maintenance technician, because your plane does not crash. National Yucatan Shrimp Day. So all the short people in the Yucatan can celebrate. Oh no, shrimp. I got it. Prawns. Not about short people. Okay. National Escargot Day. So
eat shrimps and snails.
Plate full of snails. Get a plate full of snails. And it's Brothers Day. It's Schizophrenic Brothers Day. National Scavenger Hunt Day. So go on a scavenger hunt with your schizophrenic brother. And Emergency Services for Children Day. And if your brother is a child, they might need emergency services after your schizophrenic scavenger hunt. And that's today. What today is a May 24th, 2023 edition of... Well, you got to finish too, right?
Yeah, that's me, and that I'm just still laughing about the schizophrenic brother scavenger hunt. And we'll hope to see you tomorrow for some more news about how the climate's going to shit, and you know, all that stuff, and inflation, of course. Inflation is the cause of all our problems, and not the climate or anything else. Yeah. So I hope to see you then. This has been Allison. Have a good one.
This is Roger. Way too busy to have just one day. I gotta have 16 activities in one day. May 24th, 2023 edition of See You Tomorrow on Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.